welcome to another episode of The Lisa Show, and today we will be making something so awesome, one of my all-time favorites. We'll be making the Vietnamese pho. So if you guys are new to this channel, we do cooking and eating videos. So if cooking and eating is your jam, then consider subscribing. Okay, so today we will be making the Vietnamese pho. We will be making the beef variation because that is my favorite. And this is gonna be a quick, shortcut, one-pot pho. So pho is a Vietnamese soup noodle, if you guys don't know, and it's really hearty and great for a rainy day or a sick day, or I heard it's really good for hangovers as well. So we're gonna get started. It's gonna be a one-pot recipe, so I'm gonna start by cooking the noodles first. So traditionally, pho is a very tedious and long dish to make. It's very hearty, full of flavor, but it takes hours and hours to boil the broth. So I'm gonna show you a shortcut version of how to do that. So my water is coming to a boil. We'll be starting with the noodles. This is a packet of the Vietnamese rice vermicelli, or well, it's just basically pho noodles. It's very important that you get the Vietnamese one and not get another Chinese variation that looks like this, as what we call like rice noodle or rice stick noodles, because the Thais have a version, the Chinese have a version, but we need the Vietnamese version for this dish. So I'm just gonna be opening this packet. Okay, thank you. Ooh, careful. And I'm just gonna be popping this in, just put the whole thing in. And it's just like regular noodles, so when your water's boiling, just pop that in. Thank you. You're my little assistant. My boo, my husband. He's the best. So we're just gonna let that boil. So because this is a one-pot version of the pho, we don't want extra things to wash. I'll be cooking the noodles first. You'll find in other recipes they'll always say cook the soup first and then cook the noodles, because then the noodles are, you know, fresh and hot, and they'll still be silky, because these noodles tend to get quite sticky after you cook them. But because it's a one-pot version, we're gonna cook the noodles first, and then we're gonna separate them into bowls. So I'm just gonna check on that. Wow. And it's done. Our noodles are done. Ooh. Okay, we will now go strain these noodles and put them into individual bowls. So we are back with our noodles. We have strained them, and now we are going to individually put them in the bowls first, because if you leave it like this, it will get really sticky as it cools. So we're just going to individually put them in your serving bowls. And when we've got our bowls, we'll be adding some, this is just some regular oil. You can just use any oil that you normally use. I'm just gonna be putting a bit of that oil, this one's just olive oil, in my bowls, in the noodles, just so it doesn't stick when we are making our broth. Just a little bit will do. Give it a good stir, just to make sure everything is very, very smooth and not clumpy. So we're just gonna stir that. Ooh. Okay. And now to start off with our broth. The pho broth is very interesting. We will not be making our beef stock from scratch, because that will take hours of just boiling beef bones. So we will be using store-bought beef stock. But before that, we will be adding a lot of spices and flavor to that. So we're gonna start with charring some of our root flavors. Okay, we've got here some ginger. I've just got a knob of ginger that I've sliced in half, and I'm just gonna put that over, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna char that. And I've also got a big yellow onion, and I'm also gonna put that in to char. Now you wanna watch over that very carefully, because you don't want that to burn. There is no oil, we're not stir frying. Oops, get that noodle off. Really sticky. And the purpose of this is we're not trying to soften the herbs, okay? These root flavors, the ginger and the onions, we put into the broth later on. But what we're trying to do here is with this charring method, we're releasing the flavors. You can really smell the onion and the ginger, okay? As compared to if you just dump these raw into the broth later. So you can see that nice char. Just gonna flip that, make sure it doesn't burn. And it's okay if you've got some black marks on that. That's good, we want that. We will not be eating these anyway. These are really just for the flavor of the broth. Just gonna let that char. So this should just take a couple of minutes. Just keep moving them around so they don't burn. And for your onions, you can feel free to just pop them on their sides, on all four sides. And if you've got a grill or if you've got a barbecue that you can fire up and do this over open fire, that's even better. But for, you know, apartment cooking, we don't have a grill. And we want it to be one pan. So that's why I'm gonna show you how to do that with just one pot. So you don't have to clean it. If you wanted to, you could put it in the oven. That would give you quite a similar result, or even better I would say, because an oven would char that quite more wholesomely. But this will do for now. And so when we've got these charred, we're gonna just take that out. Look at that beautiful color. Look at that. Okay, our ginger as well. Just pop that out. You can see some burnt marks on them, but that's beautiful. That's what we want. We're gonna leave that aside. And now we've got some spices. So here we've got 1 cinnamon stick. We've got 3 whole star anise, and we've got a couple of cloves. So we're all gonna pop that in. Okay, same thing. What we're gonna do is we're gonna toast them to really bring the aromatics of these spices out. Just gently. Remember, no oil. We're just really toasting them. And you can smell that cinnamon and that clove. Oh, that star anise is so good. Just gently over the fire. And this does wonders. If you just pop this into the soup raw, you're gonna get a bit of flavor, but when you roast it first, or well, I would say toast it first, it really brings up the flavor to the next level. So make sure you don't squash these spices. Keep moving them around. Keep moving them around. Can you smell that?
Yeah, it smells good.
Oh, it smells so good. It smells a bit like Christmas, the cinnamon. Just keep moving them around, because these do burn quite easily. Okay. And you can slowly adjust your fire to a bit low. You don't need massive flames for this one. We just want that slow fire to keep bringing out the aromatics of these spices. Okay, and we're done. Okay, so lower that fire. I am gonna now put back my onions and that ginger. And I'll be now adding my broth. So I've got here 2 cartons of just a regular store-bought beef broth. Yeah, can you help me, Lou? Yes.
Actually press down.
Oh, press down.
Poke in.
Oh. Okay. There we go. So you really want to just pour that all over.
So you just move it. 1.5.
So we've poured in about 6 cups of store-bought beef broth. And we're gonna turn that fire up and we're gonna just let that come to a boil. So we really want the flavor of the onion and the ginger and the toasted spices to all really infuse into that broth. Just gonna put the lid on and wait. Now while you're waiting for that broth to boil, you can use that time to prepare your beef. So I am using a chuck eye here. I do think this cut of the meat is quite meaty in flavor. You can use sirloin or you can even use shabu beef. Now the key here is really just the beef sliced as thinly as possible because we will not be putting the beef in the soup to cook. The traditional way of doing it is we're going to put the beef on the noodles and then hot soup is going to go over there and the heat of the soup is going to cook that perfectly. So it shouldn't be overcooked. You shouldn't get hot gray beef in your soup. So you can choose any cut you want, but most importantly, it has to be very, very thinly sliced. If you're choosing to buy a cut like a sirloin on your own and then slicing it, a tip would be that you wrap that up and you put that in the freezer for about 15 minutes to half an hour. And that will really help you in getting that very, very thin slice. So the ones I've got here are already sliced because this is actually meant for shabu shabu, so that's a hack. You can get that from the supermarket. So you're gonna just take your beef and you're gonna lay that on your noodles in one single layer. So you can just roughly do that until you get something like this. Try not to overlap them too much. Really keep it as single layered as possible so that the heat of the soup can cook your beef right through. I'm just gonna clean your hands and then just check on that broth. Wow. Oh, you can really smell those spices, so good. Just gonna give that a good stir. And now is when you can taste. I always believe when you cook, taste your food. If it's too salty, add some water. If it's not salty enough, add some more stock or add some. In this recipe, I would advise you to add fish sauce or soy sauce because that really brings that umami flavor across. So I'm just gonna taste mine. But I am gonna add just a little bit of soy and a fish sauce mix, maybe about a tablespoon first. And I recommend adding this over salt because Vietnamese food is all about the soy sauce and the fish sauce. It really brings that extra, I don't know, fish sauce is just the bombs. It just brings that extra like 5th dimension, you know? And I've also got here some brown sugar. I do like my pho soup a little bit sweet. Just gonna take about a heaped teaspoon of this. And I like using brown sugar because it gives me that caramelized flavor. So I'm gonna give that a stir. Let that sugar just melt in. And one thing about sugar when you are testing how much to add, always give it a while to melt in first before you taste it. If you dump the sugar in and then taste it immediately, you'll be like, oh, it's still not sweet enough, I'm just gonna dump more. But no, I've made a mistake. I've learned over time that you really have to just give it a few seconds just to let all that sugar melt in and disintegrate into the entire soup. Taste it and then see if you need more. Just gonna let that come to a boil. Oh, that star anise and cinnamon stick and clove is just heavenly. Wow. Just gonna give that a taste. I do think it use a bit more sugar. So I'm gonna double that. I'm just gonna add one more heaped teaspoon. Okay, and it's done. I'm just gonna move this aside. Don't turn that fire off when you're ready to plate because we need the soup to be quite hot for us to cook our beef. So just turn that fire up, get it to a boil. And you can strain the soup first, but because it is a one-pot recipe, I'm not gonna do that. We don't want extra things to wash. You could have a strainer over, and if you catch any of that spices, at least it's not going into your bowl. And now I'm gonna take my hot piping broth and my strainer. I'm gonna pour that all over my beef and my noodles. Wow. And we've got some fresh basil here. This is a Thai sweet basil. I think Italian basil would work as well, but the Thai sweet basil tends to have that Asian flavor to it, so I really like that. And don't bother chopping it up, just use your hands, and then we're just gonna garnish our pho. Shred that. And there we go. And now we've got our pho. As you can see, the beef is all cooked through. You've got some pink bits, but you want that anyway. You don't want it to be overcooked. And we're gonna dig in.
Yay.
Wow. Mmm.
Mm.
Mmm. I love the basil, man.
Mm.
These noodles are so silky. Can't even scoop it up.
Mm. The beef is really tender.
Mmm. Mmm. So comforting, man.
Yeah.
Mmm. Beef. Mmm. So this is a shortcut recipe. Definitely not comparable to the pho you would get at your Vietnamese restaurants because they really boil that stock from scratch for 8 hours, sometimes days, to have that master stock. But you know, we ain't got time for that. We just want a quick fix. Mmm. And traditionally they do eat it with bean sprouts as well. If you wanted to eat it with bean sprouts, you can put the raw bean sprouts here. And again, they would pour the hot piping soup over that to sort of blanch that bean sprout, but I don't like bean sprouts, so that's it. It's not in this recipe. Mmm. In Vietnam, they would add some sauce, right, babe?
Yeah. They have the...
Hoisin.
Yeah.
It's a brown hoisin sauce. And some chili sauce they
Chili
would
sauce
add.
as well.
But I've always liked to eat it plain.
They also put the chili padi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the green one that is super
The green,
spicy.
yeah.
Mm.
Is it pickled or is it just chili?
Like chili padi, like sliced.
Fresh.
Yeah, fresh chili.
Mm. Wow.
Mm. Beautiful.
So you can see it's really easy. You could do it on a weeknight dinner. Leave your soup to boil. I would say the soup is what takes the most time. But still, it's less than an hour. And while you're letting the soup boil, you could, you know, do other things. You could clean your house. And you could prepare your beef and the noodles. This is really good. Yummy, yummy, yummy.
Mm. So yummy.
I love the Vietnamese pho noodles. They're so they're soft. And they did take about, 10 minutes to cook. Like, they look like they were cooked, but if you actually bit it, you knew that the inside is just still too chewy, not in an al dente way, like in an uncooked way. So it needed more time. But they still hold their shape so nicely and they're soft. When you actually bite into them, when they're cooked, they still got this like nice firm bite to it, and I love that.
So tasty.
And we're all done. So I hope you guys go give this recipe a try. Go enjoy it on a weeknight where you need to cook for your loved ones. And this is a really easy dish, I would say, to cook for people as well, like a group of people, because you just have to beef out here. Just lay it all out for them individually, and all you need is one pot of boiling broth, and you can serve that on the spot, and everyone gets a hot bowl of yummy pho. So I hope you like that recipe, and if you do try it, remember to tag me on Instagram over here, and of course give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.